everyone. Welcome back to another episode of It Depends, I Guess podcast. I'm Caroline.
I'm Jackie.
And we have
DJ.
Welcome back to another great episode.
Yes.
We are so happy for those who are joining us for the first time and those who are coming back again. And today we have a very thought-provoking conversation. Very thought-provoking.
We hope.
We do hope. But before we get there, tell me, how has your week been?
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Excellence.
Excellence.
Yes, excellent. Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah. Anything that caught your eye, your attention?
Yes, I was
week?
watching the. Okay, actually, first of all, before you send me the video,
Yeah.
DJ was showing me when his house was being so someone called Jimmy Wanjigi.
Mm-hmm.
I think more known, he's a businessman.
Yes.
But also with political interests, right? A video of like the police breaking into a home,
Yeah.
and somebody was recording, and they're coming in to look for now this politician. So I was just like, what did he do? Mm-hmm. Then now you sent me the video a day after,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, halfway through, I was just like, okay, is this
Now
why?
it makes sense.
Now it makes sense. And it's on, she's a popular Kenyan interviewer. Her channel is called Lynn Ngugi.
Yeah.
I think her channel is just called the Lynn Ngugi.
Yeah, the Lynn Ngugi Network. Lynn Ngugi Show.
Yes, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Massive following. She's really amazing.
Yeah.
So he was on there, basically giving his thoughts on what's happening in Kenya with the unrest and all that's been going on. But it was a very candid,
Yes.
very, very candid interview.
Yeah.
And I think every African should watch that interview. One of the things I liked about how he spoke was how he broke down how economies are run or how economies work.
Yeah.
And, when you borrow with domestic debt and tell people, hey, you're going to get this much return. But then no one is telling you that for you, the taxes it's basically like a well-running Ponzi scheme.
That's true.
Yes, I was like, oh, okay. But it was, I think, an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
It was not just heavily politics.
Yes.
It really took you behind the scenes of the thought process of like, hey, no, when budgets are being borrowed or different things like that, and his thoughts and opinions also on people who are actually. Oh, one thing I loved what he said is, if you want to know what a president cares about or a leader cares about,
Yeah.
see whose ear he has, who has his
ear. Yes.
So if they really care about like religion or church or whatever, the church will always have his ear.
Yes.
If they care a lot about
Security,
if that's if that's a thing that's bothering them or they're paranoid, etc., military will always have that person's ear, right? And so like even him saying that, and I was just like, yo, actually, it was, I don't know, I loved how he spoke.
Yeah.
But I really think people should watch it, especially on how he was talking about breaking down how economies run, debt instruments, and even behind the scenes of some of the nefarious things that went on. He gave the example of the railway, SGR, and how they had planned to build a standard gauge railway from Mombasa, that's on our port, to Malaba, which is on the other side of the country, bordering with Uganda.
Yeah.
Because we are a major shipping port for the landlocked countries. So that would be Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, etc. Even South Sudan now, I believe. Talking about how he was part of that project and how they had come up with the concept and how they'd make the returns back, etc. It was meant to be a 40 billion shilling project.
Yeah, which was a privately
privately funded. No taxpayers' money was coming in it. And then, when the politicians came in, it became a 400 billion shilling project for half the distance. It started in Mombasa
up to
and
Nairobi. Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, like, I don't know. I really liked.
Yeah.
And I can see why the president was just like, hey, this guy can't be out here just, you know, spilling. But again, sir, we live in a different time. We're not a dictator. You can't just go abduct people from their homes.
So they had gone actually to try and abduct him or to try find him because he wasn't home when
he was hiding.
He was hiding.
Yeah, apparently he was hiding.
Yeah. I did see some politicians go visit him after.
So like Raila and a few of the folks who were like, also he gave the background of how they know each other from, I guess these political families all know each other.
And maybe just a breakdown for somebody who might not know about the Kenyan politics and the people we are talking about. Jimmy Wanjigi is one of those people that's known at the back end of most political, or let's say any government that comes in. The name will always be floating out there.
As a kingmaker, power maker. He's like the power behind the power.
Yes. And I think this is the first time I've actually seen him sit down and talk directly to people and tell them, like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Ignore all the rumors you've had.
Yeah.
This is the whole story and the real story of how things are. So it was quite refreshing, actually, and highly recommend that interview. I learned so much about debt as well as you, like our domestic debt and how we are thinking we're buying the bonds and we are making 80% out of this. It's infrastructure bonds, and you know, the 18% that you're getting actually is taxpayers' money coming back. To me, I was like, you mean all these things we've been hearing about? And again, when you go take a loan with that money, you're paying like almost 28% in interest. Like, it is a very well organized scheme.
And a majority of the people who own the domestic debt is not the citizens. It's the banks. The insurance companies. It's this big play. It's just, the eating is next level.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. I wish governments and people in the back of most of our governments, especially in Africa, have these kind of conversations where somebody comes and says, guys, this is what's on the table.
Yeah.
And I like that he also supported, he's supporting the movement. Yeah. And he talks about the movement now is no longer about politics. And the politicians have not realized that politics, we left out in 2013 after we had the elections after the single party, we moved from single party to multi-party. Like, that's no longer the story now. It's now economics, you know? I really good interview. Sorry, I took over most of it. But
No, I agree. And also, I think I can see how it's pissing off government people, because for someone to unveil, like, oh no, this is what is happening. Is like, that's problematic for them, because it's like, hey, you're giving out the information, and this is how they've known how to be eating in the back end. I can see how it's put them on shaky ground. And I also like how he was saying, because he was asked one of the questions like, you know, they've put out this news that, you know, you're the one funding the protest, and it said protesting is a fundamental right.
Yeah, that's true.
So even if I was to fund, so what? How to show me why how that's illegal?
Yeah. And he even said about going to give blood, and then telling him
he's like, when people were arrested, I paid money for bail, money for legal representation. I even tried to give blood, and I was too old. But if you're here saying, oh, this guy is funding protest, and so what?
Yeah. So
where in our law is it unconstitutional or illegal to fund a protest? Is a right.
Yeah.
It costs people to go. Why not?
Yeah. It's a mind-altering kind of conversation that I wish had happened way back. And something that he raised that I didn't know about the financial bill. Again, the financial bill is where most of this protest started in Kenya. The financial bill was rejected. But one among the things that he talked about was there was a provision being made for companies to actually start businesses, external companies, so international companies, to start businesses where there's a requirement for 30% holding.
And that was being removed.
Yes, they were removing that. And I was like, this there is something to the story that we are not being told, and probably some of these things were being put undercover.
Yes.
Another thing is that financial bill, when it was being tabled, I didn't know about this, but there's a legal stipulation that you have to also give the estimates for the revenue. But that was never included.
It was never put in.
It was never
and that's
put in.
why last year's financial bill didn't go because they took it to court.
Yes.
And the court was like, yeah, that's unconstitutional. You can't do that.
Yeah.
And they've done the exact same thing this time.
This year. So failing twice, sitting president failing twice in terms of even giving a budget for what's going to happen, where is the revenue, like everything. If you can't tell Kenyans this is estimated revenue, like, what are you trying to hide?
But you see, here's the thing.
Yeah.
They've probably been doing this before.
Yes.
Because they were in the previous government.
Uh-huh.
This is what they were doing before.
Yes.
And the one thing they depended on is the citizens don't give a shit.
Yeah.
No one's going to ask questions. Even last year's protest that even people were like, oh, whatever, because it's political. Those political people took it to court and it didn't pass.
Yeah.
Luckily, because they looked through and they're like, no, something here is unconstitutional. If no one caught it, it would have passed.
Yeah, it would have passed. Yeah.
So I don't think it's a new thing they've come up. This is a game that they know, this is how we do this thing.
Yeah, and it's always passed. I like that Kenyans have become quite educated.
Yeah.
And it's good to see also, like, in Nigeria, there have been protests going on as well. I think they were closing them this past week, I think was the last one.
Yeah.
But they've also been asking and pressuring the government, like, things need to change,
Yeah.
So it is a revolution for
It
sure.
is.
And it's no longer about politics. When it comes economics...
But I see the politicians and I don't understand that.
That's what Wanjigi kept saying.
Yeah.
He can be blubbering there, but the politicians will never understand what he's saying.
Because these guys still think the biggest voter is the person that'll show up 1 week, 2 weeks to elections, throw some tribalistic shit in there, rise people up and say it's those people.
Yeah.
It's those people.
Yeah.
Give you a can of maize. That's who they're still truly depending on that.
Yeah.
They've all come up. The current sitting president we have came up under our dictator president.
Yeah.
The rule book, it's the same rule book.
Yeah.
This is how you deal with these people. You don't, even after the first protest, the way he came out and is like, this is treasonous, etc. His approach was like, I don't negotiate with terrorists.
Yeah.
That was his approach.
Yeah.
That's the same rule book.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we live in a different time under a different constitution.
Yep. And people are woke.
Yeah. See, in Bangladesh,
Yes.
their prime minister took off.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
she took off.
She
Yeah,
took off.
She
Yes.
took off.
Yes.
The pressure was too much. She took off.
Actually, and that was started by students.
Yeah. And in Bangladesh, a lot of people have been killed.
Yeah.
I think theirs is like they're above 500 by now.
Wow. That's quite sad.
Just killing children.
Yeah.
And one of the things this Jimmy Wanjigi guy said, which was very true, he was saying, the one thing is a mother's tears. You have gone and you have killed her child. He was just saying, this guy is not going to last till the next election.
Yeah.
It's not an argument. You have killed people's children. In our culture, we know the respect we've put with mothers.
Yeah. A mother's tears.
A mother's tear, you have killed their children.
Yeah. Yeah.
You deal with that.
I still remember the ICC, Ruto was the ICC.
Yeah. We elected a president who has a case at The Hague for killing people. And we are surprised.
I know we are surprised. And but one more thing is that we now have freedom of speech, and I have to give it that we can sit here at a podcast and have these discussions, and people are listening, and even the interview that happened, he was not afraid to speak his mind. Yeah.
I mean, things are different, and I think it needs to there needs to be a reckoning that even as people, the things you can't unsee once you know, even with what has happened,
Yeah.
people are now going to go and comb through every single thing. What's that bill doing? What is that?
Yeah.
You can't go back and continue to just, you've been blocked, but you're like, fuck it, I'm not going to go through the window. I'll just keep pushing at this door. That's just how they're operating. They're just like, oh, these kids will get tired.
Yeah.
Leave them alone.
No, they'll be surprised.
They'll be very surprised.
Yeah.
And I think, as I keep saying, everyone, well, right now, until we have an electoral commission, we can't really register to vote because the systems are not in place. But get your identity card.
Yeah.
Just be ready. Once we have an electoral commission and you register to vote.
Yeah. I think if I'm here and there's voting happening, I have to travel to Kenya.
Register to vote.
Yes.
This coming election, whether it's going to be in a year if the president steps down or whenever, we need to be ready to go and show up in numbers because we can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
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 DJ,
how was your weekend?
Our week's been fun. Didn't do much. Well, there was the parade last week.
Yes.
Yeah, that was fun.
the street parade. Yeah.
The street parade.
Didn't attend, but I saw a lot of the madness because I was working out at night that night. That was it. Working mostly.
Yeah.
I attended the street parade. I'm always
Good.
there. There's a party. Yeah, you'll always find me where there's a party.
Yeah, I went for last year's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, I've done it. All right.
Yeah. It was a very hot Saturday.
Yeah.
Very hot summer day. And the madness was boiling with the heat.
The madness is heightened.
It was heightened by the heat.
This is one of those festivals where drugs are illegal in this country. But during these festivals, they have drug testing centers.
Yes.
So however you got the drugs is your business.
Yeah.
But let's make sure it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think the combination of the drugs and that heat,
it just exploded. And for some reason, this time round, I saw many people having climbed on top of statues.
we're seeing lots of...
What was it?
And climbing like traffic lights. The drugs told them.
For me, I was like, I've never seen that before. Like,
It's a metaphor for getting higher.
Is it?
You have to try and get higher.
I'm like,
It is for sure. But for such a small city and also a very small country, Street Parade started off as it's an EDM festival.
Techno,
yeah, it started, I think, more than 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And each year it gets bigger and bigger, and it attracts almost 1 million people.
Yep.
That Saturday, there's 1 million people.
Yeah.
Partying in the street. Those are many people.
Yeah.
For a country of 5 million people, those are very many people.
But let me tell you, Swiss efficiency is a thing.
Yeah.
That thing ends at what time does it end?
Midnight. The fireworks are at midnight.
And let me tell you, by 5 a.m.,
the streets are clean.
you would not say anything had happened.
Yeah.
Everything. It's just like,
Yeah.
you would not believe. I'm just like, damn, the way they operate like ants. It's just like, okay, get out.
Yeah.
People will still party in the streets. But by 5 a.m., you're getting the morning people are getting on the train sparkless, like spotless. Everything is pristine.
It's one of those things where you're like, how do a city do something like this big?
It's
1 million people,
but
crazy.
They must make good revenue from it.
Yeah, the only day you can actually make a lot of noise in Switzerland.
Yeah, that's true. Should we talk about the fact that here, beyond 10 p.m.
Yeah. But yeah, we wore our costumes. We were pretty colorful. We celebrated music. Yeah.
Good fun. Good fun.
Good fun. Yeah. So to our topic of the week.
Aye.
Today we are talking about religion.
Hey.
It is, how do I say? It's one of those topics, depending on where you are in your phase of life, you're either for or you're against or you're agnostic, like you don't care about it or, you know. But there are different phases, as I've observed about religion. But we will talk in general, our experiences, and sort of break down a few myths. And I'll let you start off. I don't know where you want to pick this up.
Start off with my religious journey or my thoughts.
Your thoughts.
Okay.
Maybe we phrase it in your thoughts on religion, your takeaways from how you've evolved through life and religion, as you've gone along, yes.
Yeah. So, okay, so my mom is Anglican. So I was raised Anglican. My dad
is Christian.
Yes,
Yeah.
Christian. Now, okay, this is where... All right. So now, at least I can speak about Kenya. I think maybe it translates in other parts of sub-Saharan Africa.
Yeah.
That are Christian. I can't speak about Muslim.
Yeah.
Heavily Muslim regions. Kenya is 90-something% Christian.
Yeah.
Then the rest is mostly Muslim. There may be 1 or 2% Hindu.
Yeah.
So we tout ourselves as a Christian country. Now, in our regions, Christianity now has the I want to say sub-genre, but that's the right word. Sub-categories. There's subs under Christianity.
Yeah.
So the Catholics.
Catholic.
First of all, there's Catholics and there's Protestants.
Yes.
All right. Then now,
Protestants.
Is it's like a family tree. There's other ones. So there is the Anglicans, PCA, Presbyterian Church. There's Baptist churches. There's Seventh-day Adventists. There's Salvation Army. There's can't even think.
You know them.
I know. I'm surprised.
How do you know all this?
I don't know. Because I have been. Let me tell you, my religious. Sometimes I think maybe I should go in my spare time do like a theology degree. So I was raised. My mom is Anglican.
Yeah.
Now my part of the country, the Luos, are usually there's also a lot of SDAs.
Yeah.
So I think my grandpa was Anglican, my grandma was SDA.
Yeah.
So I have a wing of the family that are SDAs and Anglicans. Anyway, my mom was Anglican. My dad was just out here, agnostic or whatever. So my mom was we were modeled as religiously, if that makes sense. So grew up in Anglican church. But then I'd always been very curious about this thing. I don't know why. I've been trying to think about where this came from.
Yeah.
But I know my dad used to always tell us, you should always question things.
Yeah.
And we were always encouraged to experiment. So if you ever asked him, what happens if this glass falls there? He'd tell you, push it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? So he used to always say, the same way you have a curious mind and experimental mind, like from a science point of view, also question other things in life.
Yeah.
So I always question many things. Then I remember my eldest brother, one day, I don't know what I was doing. We used to have this Good News Bible that you could color in. And then I was telling him, we learned this thing in school, Sunday school, etc. And I think I was talking about miracles. And then told me, no, miracles don't exist. It's like this, this Moses thing, it's not true. I'm like, I remember being so shocked, and I was like, wow, you can't say that. God will spite you.
Yeah.
He's like, what do you mean? He's like, this is a story. A man wrote this book. So then we used to have, pre-Google, we used to have encyclopedias.
Yes.
Or Webster's dictionary that you'd go. So he used to tell me, every story you read in the book, go in the science encyclopedias and see if there's a science reason for why that happened. Go read about the Red Sea and about the Black Sea and about all these different things. I remember thinking that night I was so worried. And the next day,
because you thought God will strike him.
My brother will not wake up in the morning because he'll be struck for blasphemy. And the next day, I was just like, okay, nothing happened to him.
Yeah.
So I wonder. So I just would always then be like, I wonder, is this thing really a book? Now, Sunday school never allowed you to ask these questions.
Yeah.
So in my childhood, I never asked. When I got to high school, I was the wanderer. So we used to have Catholic people who are Catholic would go to Mass. So I started going to Mass.
Yeah.
Then I'd start asking my Catholic friends questions like, why do you guys do this thing? Blah, blah, blah. Remember, I was Anglican. Anglicans are closest to like Catholics.
Yeah.
It's very
very structural.
Yes.
You have to follow specific rules. We have a name for it actually in Kikuyu. Yeah.
And you're in and out in 45 minutes.
Yeah.
There's no present worship, nothing. The only thing you don't do is the sign of the cross or the Hail Marys. But basically, so when I'd go to Catholic church, I'm like, this is basically almost what I used to go to.
Yeah.
But I'd ask questions, etc., and like these other books that you guys have. Then the Protestants was, I guess, the Baptists, the ones who speak in tongues, etc. So I used to talk to my friends who used to speak in tongues and ask them, what are you feeling?
Yeah.
What do you see when you guys are singing and crying? Then I started going to SDA. And SDA, the church Saturday is full day. So I used to go for that part. After the service, you go for like Bible study. So I'd ask questions like, okay, so how do you guys decide on Saturday? They kicked me out. Then there was 3 or 4 Muslims in my class. So they would have like a teacher come. So I remember asking her, can you ask your teacher if I can come? Because I just want to ask some questions. She told me, you said no. You can't come ask questions. So I was like, all right. So I used to be, in high school, I'd be born again this Sunday.
Yes.
Then I'd wander into the Catholics.
Catholic.
Then I'd wander. So I just would wonder about. Then post, now university, I was just nowhere.
Yeah.
Then I went back to like exploring. Now I completely stopped being religious. I think the day my dad passed, I was like, oh, it's been cool. I'm out. But I'm spiritual, but I don't really believe in organized religion, which I think is kind of was his stand. And I think that's that period afterwards, I became much more deliberate about researching and reading and trying to understand what is this thing that we have? Why is it that people are very protective against it? Like, it's very hard to talk to some very religious people. It's very hard to talk to them about religion. It's very, especially when you talk to someone and it gets to a point where they tell you, you just believe. I'm like, okay, but do you see how logic, they're like, oh no, we can't have a question about logic. You just have to believe. And if you keep questioning me, you're like, you're speaking ill against God. And I'm like, no, I'm just asking questions.
Yeah.
So I just, at some point I was like, this seems to make no sense. Then it's been a few years of me learning to unlearn the things. So I didn't go to organized religion, don't go to church, fine. But then it's interesting how I've discovered so many things, how I think are actually dictated by religious formats or tenets.
Yeah.
I remember once when I was seeing my psychiatrist and I was talking about something and I was like, this thing happened to someone and it's like, I don't think they deserve it, like blah, blah, blah. Then he asked me, what do you mean they don't deserve it? I'm like, no, they're a really good person. And he's like, are you religious? I was like, no. He's like, did you grow up in religion? I said, yeah, I did. He's like, oh, okay, interesting. I'm like, oh, why'd you ask? He said, oh, because that's a very Christian concept. I'm like, what is? He's like, the concept of deserving and that good people deserve good things. And bad things only happen to bad people because they deserve it. He's like, no, in life, good things happen to good people and bad people. And bad things happen to bad people and good people. There is no concept of...
Yeah. But don't you think that's one of... Even that concept by itself, in most of people's thoughts, even those who are not influenced by religion, it's very hard to wrap your mind around that bad things can happen to good people.
So I don't know, because I think I know people who did not grow up religious.
Yeah.
And when something bad happens, they're like, oh shit, something's happened to someone and whatever. But they're never caught up in the why did it happen to them? Why them?
The deserve factor.
Yes. Versus I think it was a thing of, you have to be good because it's a reward system for those people who are good.
Yeah.
And so it's been interesting that it's been how many years? 8 years. But there's still things that I've found that as much as I'm not religious, the way I think about those things is because it's driven by religion.
Yeah, it is a subconscious engineering, sort
Yes.
of, that is
Yeah.
very hard to come
And
at.
these are the things I know.
Yes.
So think about, in our societies, religion only came in with the colonialists, right?
Yeah.
They came in a bit earlier
Yeah.
and said they're coming to bring us schools and English and whatever the hell.
Yeah.
Then the colonialists came right after.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. And it's been so many things culturally, because the culture got eroded through colonialism and over time. And there are things that now we say are our culture, but I'm like, are they?
Yeah.
Or religion has become such a thing in our society that there are things it could have eroded that we think is culture.
Yeah.
That actually was not culture. It was Christianity that came and that did this
Yeah.
thing. So even when we say we are a Christian country and our constitution is based on
Yeah.
certain Christian tenets, like, so this is how many other things don't we know that we
Yeah.
think, oh, this is how our ancestors did it. And if you speak to your grandparents, they'll be like, no,
Yeah.
that was not a thing we did.
Yeah. It's so enmeshed now.
It's very enmeshed.
We've gotten to a place that's very enmeshed.
Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you talk about growing up where there was parts of religion embedded in the family in a certain sort of way. I grew up the opposite, where at a very young age, I know my mom was religious, but she transitioned to another world when I was around 7. So I grew up with a parent who was very much against any structured religion.
Okay.
So my dad did not believe in religion, did not believe in churches, but he didn't enforce that on us because we were going to a school that was, it was called African Christian Churches and School. So it was brought by the missionaries.
Also, that's the SEK.
SCCNS.
SCCNS. Okay.
There was also SCK, actually.
Yeah, which
And
else? What is
African.
that?
there was even
African Churches of Kenya.
Kenya. And there was also AIC, African Inland
Oh,
Church.
yes,
There were
that's
so
true.
many.
I think there's many.
So we went to one called ACCNS, a school now associated with the church. And every morning we had to go to the church. Every morning.
Oh, okay.
So we would go to school, have morning preps, go to church for about 45 minutes, sing, read the Bible, then go to classes. So also the community of kids around me, we could only socialize maybe in Sunday school. So we also went to Sunday school. But it wasn't something that our dad told us. It was more of us trying to find ways to socialize with other kids.
Yeah, it was
So other kids
community,
doing this thing. Okay, so we'll also do it.
Yeah.
But my dad was very much against church. And he had his own reasons, which also I've adopted at some point, yeah. So anyway, growing up, I went to high school that was also a Christian school. Very much so that it was a Catholic school, but we had a big following of Protestants. I don't think we had Muslims in our school, actually. But big Protestants. And then at that point, I got saved. Everybody was getting saved.
We get saved.
Yes,
And
I
you
got saved.
backslide in 2 days.
I got saved at some point. But I remember getting saved. If you were not saved, you were an outsider.
Yeah.
So you had to do it. And then I would go to church when we had like church service. And for the love of me, I would sleep. I would sleep. When everybody is saying amen, I say amen.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand how sinful am I that when I'm supposed to be with my
deep in
God and
prayer.
I am deep in prayer and I'm a Christian and I'm saved, but sleep just comes over me. So anyway, there was a lot of guilt around that. But the way you mentioned about always having things at the back of your mind related to your life having controls, being mainly controlled by what religion has dictated. For me, even things like sex was controlled by religion, you know?
Yes.
No sex out of marriage, sex is a sin. So even when you're with somebody, you feel very guilty.
There's a lot of guilt attached to.
There's a lot of guilt. It's so hard to get out of, even up to today, I'm telling you the truth. So a lot of that is quite embedded. Now, my big change about religion and organized religion as it is around 2018 there, I went through this phase where I started questioning a lot of things, I started questioning my purpose on this earth, I started looking at reading a lot of books that were spiritual books, not necessarily Christian,
but
spiritual leaders who had written these books. And I happened to go to Thailand around this time in 2018, I think 2019, and I walked into a Buddhist temple. And around this time, I remember thinking, I really don't know who I am. Like, Christianity is not my thing. Let me go explore and see what the other world is like. Because for us, Islam was, you couldn't approach Islam, you couldn't ask questions to people who are Muslim.
Yeah.
You couldn't have curiosity in Islam. Unless you wanted the conversion or you had somebody who was really, access for me was
unless you're
impossible.
doing lessons to convert.
Yes. So when I went and found about, I went to this Buddhist temple and they do this humongous Buddha, what are they called, statues and everything. They're made of gold and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, people were coming, they were bowing, they looked very peaceful. And then I sat into a class actually in Thailand where they were trying to educate people about how Eastern religion has been taken into Western world, and people, like for example, yoga was something very
religious, spiritual experience.
Doing yoga actually, and some of that has been taken into the Western world and been capitalized on. So they were even talking about the Buddhism, the Buddha's structures as they are. Like you would go to a shop and find the Buddha head, you know. So they were asking you, you're a Christian. Do you, if you had a model of how your God looks like, and everywhere you went, even in the toilet, there was a Christian head of your leader or something, would that make you feel happy? And then I sat down and I was like, you know, these people have a point. Let me listen to what this Buddhism is all about. And then I learned a bit of the in Buddhism, it's about, it is a structured religion, but they focus on you as a person internally and sort of achieving higher levels of yourself to enlightenment, to nirvana. So I thought that was, because I was trying to search myself, I felt that resonated so much. So I started spending a bit of time reading about Buddhism as a religion, but I don't subscribe to Buddhism, but I subscribe to each and every part of I subscribe to some parts of Buddhism, some parts of Christianity, not all. But in whole essence, I'm spiritual. I feel I have a connection to a higher being. The higher being could be me, internalized me. And I have, like, for me, I draw my spiritualism through things around me. So nature, you know, anything that grows my spirit, for me, that's how spiritualism is. But I'm not in any structured religion. Yes.
Have you ever looked into the Baha'i faith?
No.
I feel like they are the ones who pick different versions of the... there's a time I was also going through an expression journey, and I think I found out there was a Baha'i faith in Kenya by the time I'd already moved out. And I was in Ireland. I don't know if I ever found where they are at, but they basically, it's like various tenets from various different pieces of religion. Yeah.
So maybe something I forgot to mention. For me, Christianity changed completely. Now, after all this journey, I went to Ghana and I went to the Gold Coast.
And you went to, is it Almina Castle? Which is the one there?
There's that castle. Let me paint a picture. Let me paint a picture, because I feel everybody who really subscribes to, especially Christianity, they need to feel this and experience this, or any other structured religion. Or let me talk about Christianity, because that's what we have in Africa mostly,
well, our part, Western is mostly Muslims. Like Ivory Coast are mostly Muslims.
Yes.
Senegal,
but Ghana, the English-speaking countries.
Ghana is, actually that's true.
Yeah. So I went to Ghana. It was my sister and I. It was actually a work trip. And then we drove from Accra to the Gold Coast, yeah. And then we went and did this tour where it was the first church that was established in Ghana, I think actually Africa. And underneath this church, because they still have the same structure, underneath this church was the caves where the slaves were kept. And we went through the caves, and the guy who was telling us the story, I believe he was a reincarnated person because you could see the pain in his eyes.
Yeah.
He told us how the journey of the slaves happened because there was the door of no return.
Yeah.
And to them, heaven and hell was the people who were in the church above, that was heaven. Hell was the caves where the
below.
slaves were. There was no distinction of heaven and hell as we probably have been told that exists outside on the rock. I think for me, that experience was so surreal to imagine that religion was brought and we were told this is the good thing and good people go to heaven and this is what you
guys are
subscribe
doing,
to.
you guys are going to hell because
You
what
guys
you're
are-
doing is not,
Yes.
ain't it?
And then the same people who are bringing you this thing, they have you under in the caves and you're being treated like the worst, you know? Like to me, I can never separate that in my head that this structured religion is the one that also caused the most harm to us Africans.
And I agree with you. And I think it I'm not getting annoyed this episode. It really, really annoys me to my bones that we don't distinguish this.
Yeah,
That this, we know who brought us this religion.
yeah.
This is in our recent past. It's not we magically all were
Yeah.
in some direction.
Yeah.
Even if you look at the religion of history, there was other religions before. Christianity is more medieval times or whatever. It's recent.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it really pains me to see actually how Africans have held on to this religion like it's the Christianity specifically.
Yeah.
That's what I can speak to. I don't know what the Muslim experience is, but they hold on to this thing like it's. I'm like, the people who brought it to you are not even worshipping anymore.
They're not practicing
In
the same
Europe,
thing.
we used to live in Ireland.
Yeah.
90% of the churches in Ireland are bars.
Actually, they've been converted.
They've
That's
been
true.
converted because people are not going to church. They don't care about this religion, Christianity thing anymore.
And also I know you've seen in most European cities, like even the big cathedrals that used to be the worship centers
Yeah.
are now museums.
They're museums. People just go to look at it. Oh, nice, cute, take pictures inside,
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah.
But then it was brought to us and was brought to us in a very painful way that we have taken it and now we are the staunch.
own it.
So even when the Olympics ceremony, the first one that people were in uproar, Africans were in uproar because of whatever imagery that was disrespectful to Christianity. I'm like, you're arguing with people who brought us this shit.
Yeah.
Now we are the most fiercest protectors of this thing. What has this Christianity brought us?
Yeah.
Who are the poorest in these regions?
That's true.
Us. And the poorer we are, the more we are in that, the more we are in those churches.
Listen, stop.
Okay, fine. All
You
right,
know,
DJ.
we haven't finished praying. We are still working on our prayers to perfect them. That way we can push the higher power to a better point where we'll be granted. One day, the African continent will be the most saved.
Yes, the
Look at
most
us.
saved.
Yes.
But
What
do you
would they
think
get
it will
us?
be the most, do you think most saved is equivalent to a better life?
No,
Standards of living.
You are thinking of material things.
Not material things. I'm just saying people should be able to eat basic things. People should be able to get what's the number of meals they say is required for an adult child growing? 3 meals a day without
2.5. 3.
we just get meals.
Yes, but in trying to be in the defense of Christianity.
okay, go ahead,
But,
sorry.
but what we are praying for is the belief that there's yes, we might suffer here, but there's a belief that beyond there.
But you see,
beyond the pain.
You see, that's the selling point of most structured religions. It's always
Yes.
about futurism.
The afterlife.
It's the afterlife. Yeah. So,
But the ones who brought us, them, they're enjoying this life.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
them, they got both. They get this life
and they get
And
the
the next
afterlife.
and they get the afterlife because they're the ones who brought us this Christianity that we love so much.
Yeah.
So them, they're getting twice. Them, they are set both ways. So for us, the deal is we suffer here
so that we can get
so
the
that we
afterlife.
can, although which nobody has ever come back tell us what this place looks like.
Yeah.
No, it's still under investigation, though. But like every Christian will tell you that they are striving for something greater than what's here on this earth.
Yeah, but
A Lamborghini looks nice, but I think there's something better when
you see, that's
when I reach the golden gates.
you see, that's what the colonialists sold to us. We'll take away your land. We'll take away what belongs to you. But you wish for the afterlife.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
There's something greater
better
there.
is coming. You don't need all this, And then you hold on to that. And I have a lot of qualms when it comes to, especially people who hold on to that structure that was brought onto us. Because ask yourself today, when did the colonialists come? Was it 1850 something?
Around there.
18
No,
something.
I guess so. Not even the 1900s, whatever. They
Yeah.
came. Yeah.
But before that came, does it mean that all of us, our ancestors, all went to hell?
Yeah, according to them. Yes.
They all went to hell
Yes.
because they didn't know any religion. They were pagans.
Yeah.
So you're saying everybody was a sinner. Your great ancestors were a sinner before they, like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You found people who had already, and there's a lot of content around this. We were just watching the video before about somebody who talked about why we were called pagans, because we worshipped in ways that were not Eurocentric.
Yes. They said it was a lot of paganism and animism.
Animism.
Yes.
Because you woke up and said, oh, the father of the mountain.
Yes.
Because you didn't worship a certain structure that they had told you.
Yes.
And I'm like, it means you're calling all our ancestors stupid. There were reasons why the structures were in place,
Yes.
I always go for that. I don't think we are the cradle of humanity as Kenyans or East Africa for that point. But you've already said we were stupid.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could talk too much about this.
The same ones who were saying this also felt the same about like Hinduism.
Yes.
Where certain animals have certain religious meaning.
Yeah.
But aren't they the same ones going there to learn yoga, etc.?
That's true.
From those same religions to go practice the same things. Aren't they the same people?
So it's a pick and choose what suits me.
But here we are dying for, and it's even interesting to see how people have had, and I mean, we know what's happening between Israel and Palestine.
Yeah.
You can believe what you want in terms of whatever it is. But what has been fascinating to see African Christians, who their whole point of view of what's happening there is that, oh, no, but it has been said in the Bible that will happen.
Yeah.
So it should happen because that is ordained. I said, throw us
Is that
all
what
away.
they're saying?
Yeah, yes.
I wake up every day. When was this? 2 days ago. They bombed a school. They've bombed hospitals, as in, I wake up and watch the news every morning, and I can't imagine us as the world, we are standing still, and even leave alone Palestine. There's so much going on in the world.
Yeah.
But we close our eyes because religion says this.
Yeah.
And religion says, where is the humanity?
Where is the humanity? Where?
Yeah, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense because we cover our humanity with religion. And I think in my own small view is when everybody stops thinking about their connection with a higher being or without a higher being on a one-to-one level, a lot will change.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's the thing, right? There has to be the same. So this video is always trend, especially Kenyan pastors are just the comedic most comedic of the ones I have seen. But you'll see videos of pastors saying just the wildest shit. And I'm like, so everyone has come into that church with their Bible, and you're told, turn to chapter, whoever, verse, whatever. It is read. This person gives the wildest interpretation of whatever that is. And I'm just like, but you all have this same book.
Yeah.
Do you really think that's what that thing says to you?
You let
And
somebody
does
else
it not make
interpret
sense
it
to
for
put
you.
in effort for you to understand what is this thing truly saying?
Yeah.
Versus this person who God says the wildest shit, then makes you people pay for whatever you're paying for tithe and whatever. He's leaving your church with his Range Rover, the one that dropped last week. You're here bringing still a third of nothing. Is it a third or a tenth? What is a tithing?
Tenth.
Whatever. You're bringing a tenth of nothing to this man every Sunday for how many years? Still praying for abundance.
Yeah.
You see the abundance in his life. This abundance is not hitting everyone.
Yeah.
It rarely ever hits everyone. Mind you, it is very beneficial for pastors for you not to move up in life.
It is true.
It is very beneficial.
It is true. It is very true. Because this, the pastors, especially the ones who've made things around abundance religion, yeah, they want you to keep calm praying for problems. They don't want you to live, to have a life without problems. Because if you don't have the problems, you won't keep coming
You won't
to
keep
church.
coming. There was a TB Joshua documentary. Yeah, no. If you don't have problems, why are you going to the church?
Because most of the time people go to church to pray for something. There is also prayers for gratitude, but I can tell you it's probably going to be 10%.
That's true. It's like a smart therapist.
Yes.
There's always something else to fix.
As long
Or
as-
a plastic
yes.
surgeon.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's always something.
And a good
you can do
therapist should
better.
have a timeline for what your therapy looks like and what you're working on. What are we working on? And when that is, there's milestones, and then there's a point where it's like, you know what, I think we have
Made
close a
progress.
chapter on this.
Yeah.
Now, if you're coming back for something else, yes. But for a therapist to keep you there, you're in therapy for 5 years, dealing for the exact same thing. No.
Maybe a therapist is a bad example, but definitely plastic surgeons.
Yeah.
100%.
You've come in to just fix your nose, but he's told you about how your lips are imbalanced.
Yeah.
And your ear, you know, one is not right.
It's not, yeah.
So you leave there. I watched those shows. Somebody has gone in for a nose job. Before you know it, they have all these drawings on their faces. And it's like, yeah, so now this eye is not as high as this one.
Yeah.
And then for your face, if we can just pull here, then push here. And then we'll pin this backwards. You only just went in because you couldn't breathe through one side.
Yeah.
I don't believe I'm the smartest guy on the planet. I don't believe that I have all the answers. But I'd like to think that everyone rationally looks at things with all the information. You are evidence-based in life. That if this religion is meant to give me this should happen. If this happened, then there should be answers, checks and balances to everything that happens in life. You can't tell me that the way I'm looking at things from the outside in to a person inside, they question nothing. It's strictly faith-based. They don't want to question anything that they are told by their faith leader or whoever. They just follow that.
Yeah.
Fully.
Without
Yes.
Without question.
You try.
Because there's a saying that
it's like
says,
saying the bank takes my money and they just say trust me. You don't sign anything.
Yes.
You
Yes.
just say just
yes,
trust
that's
me.
what I'm telling you. This is where the logic fails me. If you go to a doctor and he gives you a pill, and every time you take that pill, you get more and more sick. But you keep going to that doctor. That's basically how some people follow organized religion.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And you can't, because even when you try to question them, they tell you, no, it's faith. I've been told not to question. It's belief.
You know, sometimes I pray I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
No, I pray that I pray that what we're saying here is wrong.
Because there's a shit ton of people who are out here.
So
So many people. That's
out
true.
here not
Yeah.
living life to their maximum
Yeah.
because
Yes.
they have faith
Yes.
that there's something on
Yeah.
the other side.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
And a lot of the people that I've met that say, listen, I'm a Christian and this is what I believe in. It's like going to a nightclub and you're trying to get in, you have to say someone's name. I don't know whose name. I know George who works behind the bar there. Yeah. So it's like getting to the gates and say, who are you with, Mr. So-and-so? Say I'm with the Christians. I'm with the Hindus. I'm with the Muslims. And you can't tell me that location only bases what my religion is. So if I was born in Saudi Arabia, I'd be Muslim, and then I wouldn't look at Christianity.
But let me tell you, the Christianity we were taught in school. I remember the guys used to come bring us movies called Rapture. I'm surprised you never watched Rapture movies. And the prayer used to always be during praise and worship. The real praise leaders would be crying because they're saying, all these people in the Middle East are going to die. They're going to burn. Yeah. Because they are not believers.
I wonder if they're spreading the same rhetoric from the other side.
I don't know.
If
I don't know.
But I think I've had a comparison also. We have different types of religions, yeah? And there are some that believe in their faith, they act on their faith, and look at the other people as like, you guys don't know what you're doing. And then there's Christianity that believes in their faith, acts on their faith, but also imposes their faith on other people.
Yeah, 100%.
Where they're like, if you're not following us, then you're doomed, you know? I don't think Islam does that.
Which gives a feeling of superiority, right? Because they're saying that one you're doing won't get you to the...
Which is the prime example. Here we are inclusive of all religions, but do you hear any Muslim call out here?
That's
you don't hear
messed
no
up.
Muslim call out here. But you hear the Christmas bells.
Yes.
Not even the church
and
bells.
the church bells randomly. Sometimes it's even 12:35.
Yeah.
Bell.
Watch, there's going to ring now in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not balanced.
Yeah,
it really isn't.
Look at it.
I honestly, in my own opinion about life and everything, is I believe everybody should do what they deem fit and whatever resonates with them.
Yeah.
But don't try impose what you think is right on me.
Yeah.
If you now try to do that, then we have a problem, because I have my own beliefs. Hindus have their own beliefs. Other people have their own beliefs. But the most interesting TikToks I like to watch or Instagram reels is where people are fighting about religion on comments. They are hilarious. You can always tell.
But let me tell you, some of you watched the TB Joshua. Called TB Joshua?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
The expose that was done.
Yeah.
And people who are in part of the whole operations.
Kenyans.
Well, apart from that.
Yes.
There were no Kenyans.
Yes.
Yes, there were.
There were Kenyans.
Yes, but
the Nigerian one, the
Nigerian church.
There was a Kenyan there.
I know there were some Europeans, lots of them, but Nigerians. Okay,
Kenyans featured somewhere.
Okay.
So even the people who are talking about now, we were, this whole healing thing was all fake.
Yeah.
We would come and they're telling you, they're saying.
Yeah.
And in the comments, people who are just like, you're going to burn in hell. You can't speak ill of the man of God. And I'm like, are we not watching the same thing?
Yeah.
Or is it that it's just blinders?
It's blinders.
It's that faith.
And I think a big part of, and this is interesting, I'd be curious to talk to people who grew up with Christianity, let's say in even here or the Nordic countries or whatever. Because I think we were taught a very fear-based religion. Christianity to us was taught very, very fear-based, right? Whereby, as you were saying, you just make sure you're born again just because,
Yeah. Just to
I
be
just
on the
want
side.
to make sure because
Just in case.
you're living in fear of, okay, but
Yeah.
now tomorrow if I wake up and everyone has vanished,
Yeah.
let me at least make sure I have secured my place.
Yeah.
Right? But it was a lot of fear-based. So I always wonder, people who experienced Christianity from a non-fear, like what does that even look like? Because I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah. I would love to know how that looked like growing up in...
And because of that fear, the whole concept of questioning was always, it was a way to curb all the questioning.
Yeah.
Because
the fact
it's like
there are people in our families that this discussion they were saying here, they'll be like,
actually, disclaimer for this one is not everybody's going to be happy about this conversation. Because we do have different
I think people question. I'm not saying religion is bad, Christianity is bad, Islam, no. But it's an individual relationship with whatever higher power you believe in.
Yeah.
ask you, is this thing serving me? I am going to this church every Sunday. I see this man is getting wealthier. Some stories where they see the pastor is getting wealthier. They know 5 girls the pastor has gotten pregnant, bought those girls houses and cars, but you're still going every Sunday. You are still working
With you.
to give a tenth of
with a promise of another life.
of another life.
Yeah.
But this person, him, is having a good time here.
Yeah. Just in case there's nothing on the other side. Because he knows that and he won't tell you.
Even in a Catholic church where you priests have taken the vow of I don't know what vow it is.
So celibacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we used to know in our neighborhood, people knew this, not a neighborhood, someone in my neighborhood would tell me we'd gone to their village, I think,
Yeah.
burying someone, I can't remember. But then they're like, yeah, you know, this pastor, this priest, this church, they have a children's home. I'm like, oh, cool. But then they're like, yeah, but they know many of the kids there are his.
Oh.
So I'm saying, now, everyone in this village just knows. And they're like, yeah, okay. All right. But
No, I think, that's why I always live in the comfort of knowing that if someone can make so much profit from selling lies to people, and then when we get to this higher energy and when we pass on to the next life, the person who's not going to be judged first is not me. Not me for being curious.
yeah.
But that man for taking advantage of people who see no other option by that faith.
Yeah.
Who've lived like that for their whole lives. Jesus.
Yeah. Folks.
Their whole life.
You know something else that
Never tasted Savannah Dry.
doesn't know how nice it is when it's cold.
When it's chilled and it's sweating. Oh my God.
It's sweating, it's chilling. Ooh. And then there's that light on it, like a sunlight.
Savannah
And then
Dry.
it makes
That
a popping
is-
sound when you open it. Ayah.
It's down.
Anyway.
No, you know one thing that we've not talked about is I don't want to say Scientology, but going through by evolution. There's evolution of how we came to be, because religion is one way of how we interpret how we came to be. In this.
Yes. So there's people who believe religion. There's the people who believe in evolution.
Evolution, yes.
The Big Bang folks.
For Big Bang folks, yes.
Science beliefs. Yeah.
So
There's a different arms.
For me, science belief has always fascinated me because we cannot be sitting in this rock that we call Earth,
It's just flying in space.
flying in space.
And
And
perambulating in the
yes,
galaxy.
And every time you look up, you can see so many other stars and constellation and and you believe
Other
that
rocks.
Earth is the only one where you're only, like, imagine how much you've limited yourself to think. we
We're
are
getting into alien talk now. This one is mine.
yes.
Come alive here. I come alive.
But like, imagine the magnitude of how much you close yourself off to think as religion is the only way that we came to be,
Yeah.
And every time I look up in the sky, I want to close my eyes and believe, those are just stars. They mean nothing. They're just stars. Those are planets. The only ones we know within our constellation, they are like 9. Is it the Milky Way or whatever?
Yeah. 9.
What is it? Is it called
9 plus the Pluto was demoted.
It was demoted.
So now that's like a mini. I don't know, is it a mini planet or just a big rock? I don't know what it is now, but now there's
Imagine of all the ones we don't know, because those are the only ones we see. There are many stars. I believe everybody should always look up whenever they are in doubt.
Yeah,
and then
that's true.
It always makes me feel quite insignificant. Yeah.
Yeah, and truly to think about, I don't know, maybe just explore life or live life. Maybe, aren't we missing a lot of life now if you're just focusing on the afterlife that is whenever? Just be a good person, to be like, treat people the way you want to be treated. Right? I'm not saying don't believe in religion, don't be religious, don't be spiritual. Yes, explore if you feel there's a connection to the higher power, yes. But the people who don't feel that connection and don't think it's worth pursuing, you can't just be like, the people who are going to hell now, those are, mind your business. if you want to explore your connections with the higher power in whatever form that looks like, if you're not hurting someone else, you're not.
Also, if you're happy within your faith, be happy.
Happy within your faith.
Just don't.
But also, man, put in a bit of logic sometimes. If some of these leaders are telling you things that just sound insanely incorrect, but you see, or insanely mad, but also you see, you have to be aware. I think maybe we should just live with more awareness. Maybe that's what we should be doing.
No, we should question more. Do a lot of self-work, not follow blindly. I think if we go more internal, like do the work of checking within yourself. Does this sit well with me?
Yes.
It does not make sense. It makes sense. I think if you do a lot of that work, like the world opens up. You're able to see the world differently.
Yes, and it also means it's okay to question. Don't let anyone tell you you should not. It's okay to question, because we were brought this thing. And again, I really want to explore tradition, what our ancestors used to do before. Like, I really, really, really want to explore and question that, like, and learn more about it, because I do think that I missed out on something, because when I came along,
there was already another thing.
There was a thing that was existing here. So,
I do also believe in the, you're connected to your ancestors.
I know that for sure.
I believe in that a lot.
Yes.
And ancestors meaning probably your great-grandparents, your maybe even people you never met. There's a lot to be explored there. Like, sometimes they could be channeling something.
And there's something to, I think, even how culturally you're named after someone.
Yes.
And you can bump into a relative, like my side of my dad's family, massive, don't know them. But if I see them once in 10 years, somebody who's never met me, and they tell me, you behave like so and so, and it's a person I was named after.
Yes.
There is something to a lot of these things. That's also spiritualism.
Yeah, it is.
Don't let someone tell you that is devilish shit. No, that is also a part of spiritualism. We've come from somewhere. The fact that I grew up as an Anglican because my mom was Anglican, right? It means that people who come before you have such an influence on your life. So somebody had an influence on her life. Somebody had an influence on the person who had an influence on her life. Like, we need to, those people, there is still some small connection. We are a sum of different parts, Our
ancestors is the way to go. I could tell you a quick story before we finish. There's a cousin of mine, a friend of mine who's suffering from drug abuse. So there was a suggestion that we send him back home to the village. At the time, I didn't really understand what they meant by the village, but so it's code talk to go and speak to their ancestors because that's where they are mostly located. That's where they're buried. Okay. So then my Christian friend then came and said, no, we don't do that anymore. That's negative. We are Christians now, and we need to pray to we don't do that sort of thing anymore. So in my mind, I was just baffled. I didn't find anything wrong with what he said, but in my mind, I was thinking to myself, the main objective here is to help my friend who's suffering from drug abuse. How we help him shouldn't matter. But even the way he then came and put forward this Christianity, this Western way of worshiping, to help someone instead of the traditional way, which could have helped as well. We could have tried both. But for some reason, it's seen anything that's comes from Africa is not seen as good.
It's not seen as...
It's not helpful.
But question for that Christian friend. When they're getting married, do they follow, do they do some traditional stuff or talking to the bride? We pick and choose. Isn't that traditional?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We pick and choose what we want.
We pick and choose what we want when it's convenient.
When it's fun,
so,
and when
it's just that was also one turning point for me as well. That's saying, why have we just denounced everything that was left behind us? It's, okay, yes, we didn't document anything the way the Westerners did. We didn't have scrolls and of history to help us navigate this. We are only told verbal, from our grandfathers. that's the only way we had, but we shouldn't. We should also try that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's an option.
That's true.
You know?
That's true.
It's
That's
an
true.
option.
It is an option.
What's the name of that? He's a Zimbabwean, like
Bishop Maponga.
yes.
Listen, you need to watch him. I'm going to
Go,
look him
you
in
should
the
watch
description.
some guy called he's a bishop because I think he's a theologist.
Yes.
He has studied the formal Christian modern religion.
All religions, actually.
He has studied more. So he's
he knows
actually
it from
a
all
bishop.
directions.
Yeah.
But also talks about traditional religion.
Yeah.
And the irony is Christians argue with him all day, every day, and tells them, I'm called bishop. I don't understand. I have studied these things. The things you're telling me, you're arguing with me based on what some pastor told you. Tell me where that has been written somewhere.
Wow. Isn't that weird that we've embraced this thing and we've decided we are the masters of it?
Yeah. It's like that saying, God helps those who help themselves. Is nowhere in the Bible.
Yeah.
So there's even a lot of things that we have sayings of that because it was told to you by a pastor or some religious leader, we're like, it's written.
Yeah.
It has to be.
You know, I was watching, quick one. I was watching actually something recently about money. You know, there is this thing where people talk about in the Bible, only a rich, it is easier for a camel to go through a needle's hole than a rich man to enter heaven. Do you know that has been used within
that's been used a lot.
Christianity
Yes.
to make people not rich and to make
because
people
they say
not
being
aspire
rich is a bad thing.
to aspire for wealth.
Yes, that's very true.
So a lot
I have heard that a lot.
Yes. So people spend their life thinking, having money is a bad thing. Being rich is a bad thing. But it's been drawn out of context for so many years that it's always been like, being rich, you're either taking away from people who don't have, or you become non-faith based person. If you will never go to heaven, there's always that promise of don't get money here. Wait for the future.
Wait for that one.
Wait for the future. Yeah.
You take the one you have here now. Bring it though.
Bring it. Yeah.
Bring it to the church.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my closing remark.
Yes. Oh, please subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
And share with a friend or two.
And comment. Give us some feedback. Comment.
Really, really want to hear your thoughts. We'll do an episode where we read comments.
Yes, actually, that's true.
Yes.
Oh, that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. See you next time.
Oh, maybe because of that heat. That was pre-rain.
That was freestyle. It was good.
Oh, nice. It's the Meteor's notification.